Picture a man who refused to let frailty define him. A boy plagued by asthma who transformed his body through sheer will, who charged into battle on horseback, who stared down corporate giants, and who looked upon America's vast wilderness and saw not endless plunder, but a sacred inheritance to protect. That man was Theodore Roosevelt. He became the youngest president America had ever known, stepping into the White House after an assassin's bullet struck William McKinley in 1901. In the years that followed, he would reshape the nation with the same relentless energy he brought to every arena of his life. He tamed the excesses of big business. He preserved the natural wonders of this land for generations yet unborn, and he asserted America's role in the world with strength and with purpose. He believed in what he called the strenuous life. Not a life of ease, but a life of vigorous action, moral courage, and joyful service to something greater than oneself. In an age of rapid change, Theodore Roosevelt reminded Americans that true greatness is not inherited. It is earned through effort, character, and a willingness to fight for what is right. Welcome to Faith and Freedom, the presidents who built America.
I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Theodore Roosevelt was born on October 27th of 1858 into a wealthy New York family. From childhood, he battled severe asthma that often left him gasping for breath. Instead of surrendering to weakness, he chose the path of the strenuous life. He boxed, he rode, he hiked, he explored the outdoors with fierce determination. He read ferociously, developing a deep love for history, for nature, and the American story. He graduated from Harvard in 1880 and married Alice Hathaway Lee, the love of his life. And for a time, his world was full of joy. But in 1884, tragedy struck with devastating force. On the same day, both his mother and his young wife had died. The double blow shattered him and left him heartbroken and hollowed out. But Theodore Roosevelt retreated to the Badlands of North Dakota, and he threw himself into a life of the cowboy and a rancher. The rugged wilderness did more than rebuild his body. It rebuilt his spirit. In the harsh beauty of the frontier, he learned the value of resilience, the strength that comes from pushing forward when everything else feels broken, and the quiet wisdom that can only be found in solitude and in struggle. It was there, among the wide skies and the endless plains, that he began to understand the strenuous life he would later preach, not as a theory, but as a hard-won truth. He returned to public life with renewed purpose, serving first as New York City's police commissioner and then as Assistant Secretary of the Navy. When the Spanish-American War erupted in 1898, he resigned his post to form the Rough Riders, and his daring charge up San Juan Hill turned him into a national hero almost overnight. Elected governor of New York, he continued his fierce crusade against corruption. And in 1900, he was chosen as William McKinley's running mate. Then, in a single moment that changed the course of history, an assassin's bullet struck down the president, and suddenly, at just 42 years old, Theodore Roosevelt became President of the United States of America. By the turn of the 20th century, America's economy was being dominated by massive corporations and monopolies. These trusts crushed small competitors, they fixed prices, and they exploited workers. Ordinary Americans felt powerless against the concentrated might of big business. Theodore Roosevelt refused to accept this outcome. He believed in what he called the square deal, a fair chance for every citizen, not special privileges for the powerful. He revived the Sherman Antitrust Act and took direct aim at the giants. He broke up the Northern Securities Railroad Trust. He pursued Standard Oil and other monopolies, and he signed the Hepburn Act to regulate railroad rates and to protect consumers. After the shocking revelations in the Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, he championed the Pure Food and Drug Act and the Meat Inspection Act, ensuring that the food Americans ate was safe for all. Roosevelt was no enemy of business itself. He understood that free enterprise, when fair, was essential to the American dream. But he also understood that unchecked power absolutely corrupts. He stood for the founding ideal that America should be a land of opportunity, where the rules apply equally to both the powerful and to the powerless. In the era of growing inequality, he reminded the nation that justice is not optional. It is the foundation of a healthy republic and the foundation of this nation. If Theodore Roosevelt left one legacy above all others, it was the permanent protection of America's natural beauty. He had explored the West, he hunted in the Badlands, and written about the land with deep affection. He saw the forest, the mountains, the rivers, the wildlife, not as commodities to be exhausted, but as a sacred trust from the Creator to be passed on, undiminished, to future generations. During his presidency, he established 5 national parks, 18 national monuments, and 51 federal bird reserves, and 150 national forests. He set aside more than 230 million acres of public land for conservation, and he worked with Congress to pass the Antiquities Act, giving presidents the power to protect places of historic and scientific significance. He declared, "We have fallen heirs to the most glorious heritage a people has ever received." Each generation, he insisted, must do its part to preserve it. If you stand today at the rim of the Grand Canyon, walk among the ancient sequoias, or gaze across the pristine waters of a national wildlife reserve, these are not accidents of geography. They are the direct result of Theodore Roosevelt's vision and determination. He saw America's natural grandeur as a gift to be cherished, not consumed, but a reflection of the Creator's handiwork and a promise to our children. Theodore Roosevelt believed that America had both the power and the responsibility to shape events beyond its borders. He articulated a foreign policy of strength and restraint. Speak softly and carry a big stick. One of his greatest achievements was the construction of the Panama Canal. For decades, the dream of a waterway connecting the Atlantic to the Pacific had eluded engineers and diplomats. When Colombia resisted American efforts, Roosevelt supported Panama's bid for independence. In 1903, the Canal Zone was secured. The engineering triumph that followed, carving through mountains, defeating disease, and linking two oceans, stands as one of the greatest infrastructure projects in all of human history. The canal revolutionized global trade and secured America's strategic position as a two-ocean power. Through the Roosevelt Corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, he asserted that the United States would act as an international police power in the Western Hemisphere to maintain stability and to prevent European meddling. He also mediated the peace between Russia and Japan in 1905, earning the Nobel Peace Prize. This was the first ever American to ever receive the prize. Strength, he showed, could be used not only to win wars, but also to make peace. Roosevelt demonstrated that American power, when guided by wisdom and commitment to order, could advance both national interest and the broader cause for stability. Theodore Roosevelt lived what he had preached. He embodied the strenuous life of physical vigor, moral courage, and purposeful action. Though he was not always overtly theological in public, he was shaped by Christian ethics of duty, of justice, and of stewardship. He saw moral law as real and binding, and he believed America had been given both blessings and responsibilities. He was a devoted husband and a father who encouraged his children to embrace adventure and establish character. He faced personal tragedy with resilience and poured his energy into public service. His famous "Man in the Arena" philosophy captured his outlook perfectly. The credit belongs not to the critic, but to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, striving valiantly. Roosevelt was that man, flawed, energetic, sometimes impulsive, but always striving for a stronger, fairer, more beautiful America. He believed in the moral order of the universe and in the unique role that this nation could play when it lived up to its highest ideals. In our own time of corporate concentration, environmental challenges, and questions about America's role in the world, Theodore Roosevelt's example remains powerfully relevant today. He reminds us that strong leadership, rooted in character and a vision for the common good, can restrain excess, protect what matters most, and project strength with purpose. He shows that America can regulate powerful interest without destroying opportunity, preserve its natural inheritance without sacrificing progress, and lead with confidence without arrogance. The strenuous life he had championed is still available to us, not as reckless ambition, but as joyful, vigorous service to the nation that we love and the ideals that we hold dear. Theodore Roosevelt charged through the presidency with the same relentless energy he brought to every challenge in his life. He left America fairer, stronger, and more beautiful than he had found it. And he believed in the greatness of this nation, not as a perfect people, but as one worth fighting for, worth preserving, and worth leading with honor and with courage. So may we, in our own arenas, embrace that spirit. May we speak softly when wisdom calls for it, but carry the big stick of moral conviction and national resolve when needed. And may we always remember that the true measure of a life and of a nation is found in the willingness to strive greatly for what is right. This is the story of Theodore Roosevelt, a president who embodied the American promise and called us to live it with vigor. Thank you for joining me on our journey through faith and freedom, the presidents who built America. May God bless you. May God bless the United States of America. I wish you all a wonderful weekend. Bye for now.
3, 2, 1, talk to me.